Welcome to the Chill Zone.
Help us celebrate you.
On the Chill Zone.
If you're just joining us, welcome to your afternoon favorite show. This is the Chill Zone, exclusively brought to you by your number one GSM operator. That's App Free Cell. My name is Danny Constant. I'm right here with Maria Macaulay, and we are the Chill Zone. Right here, we are just into the month of love and celebration. So it's only fair if we get a specialist to join us as a chill mate right here today to talk to us about matters of the heart, how important we need to look into some of these issues, because sometimes, especially in Gambia, we feel like we know, even though we have experts that could still add to the little knowledge that we claim we have. And every sector in life somewhat has an expert.
Yes.
I'm just saying, I keep telling people, like, look, even if it's lying, there's some people that are professional in that field. I'm just saying, it doesn't matter what domain it is. Even if it's eating, some people are professional in eating. Mm-hmm. So today we have a gentleman joining us right here. He is Mr. Holmes, actually, and he is into psychology and also an expert in relationship. I leave Mariama to do us the honor of actually properly introducing him, because they've come a long way. This is just me talking on the surface, but I know eventually he has begun to test our minds.
Yes, I already feel so uncomfortable, throwing in the questions. I'm like, this is not about me. This is not about us.
But I feel everyone that has a love question, you can send that over on 1076.
Yes.
He will answer your questions. And if you're on social media as well and you're listening to us online, please do not hesitate. You have any doubts, Mr. Holmes right here would do us the honors of actually just opening up our minds to a lot of things.
So Dr. Bjarne is a friend of Tijan, who I was introduced to, and as we all know, Christopher Tijan is very interested in relationships and counseling and all of that. So it's really an honor to have you here, Dr. Bjarne, and I know this is something that you're really passionate about, and this is your second home. You live in the Gambia, basically. He's from the US, but he lives in the Gambia.
You look half Gambian. I like you look.
He's a fuller.
Yeah, you look half Gambian now.
Yes.
Umbata.
I like that.
Welcome on the show, Dr. Bjarne. Good afternoon.
Mariama, Danny, thank you
Yes.
so much to the Chill Zone.
Yes.
Let's talk about love.
Yes.
Yes.
So how are your relationships?
I would say I think I'm a very emotional person, so I think I'll go first. My relationship is great. I'll say it's great because I feel myself and my partner have understood that we are not perfect, and it is not a competition, it's not a race, it's not an exam that we're studying for. It's basically life, and first of all, you're never ready for whatever is meant to happen. So whatever is going to happen, you just live with it, and we've allowed ourselves to just enjoy every moment, be it good or bad, and just grow with each other.
That's so real.
Yeah,
you're so real, Danny.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, that's just it, because I don't know how else to explain that.
No, that's good.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would say I am a communicator. Like, I love to talk. I love to keep in touch with the person that I love. And that's basically, I think, the challenge that I have in most of my relationships. And being in the spotlight as a young woman, it's difficult to find someone who loves you genuinely. Mm-hmm. So these are some of the daily battles that probably I go through, trying to find real love and don't fall in love with what I do and all of that. Love me genuinely.
True.
And this is the difficult part in sustaining relationships for me. And it's just crazy. Sometimes you think, oh, I have it all, until, they just...
Respect.
Exactly.
Respect.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I love to ask you, Mr. Ben, the first question. What makes a relationship work? Because at this point, I had a colleague of mine today, post a video on Instagram, on her Snap, talking about how you cannot keep a man regardless of whatever happens, you can't keep a man. I mean, if it's money, if it's sex, it could be the gift that you get them, but eventually there's no way in the world that you can keep a man.
Even if you're the prettiest woman with the beautiful body, that's not still gonna keep him.
So the question is, what makes a relationship work?
Hard work. That's the sad answer. Hard work. So we're like a week out or so from Valentine's Day, right?
Yes.
And the thing is, the truth is, the type of love that we focus on in Valentine's Day is something that we call in relationship research limerence. Limerence is that feeling. We've all had it. We meet somebody new. We're like, whoa, our heart's beating. Boom, 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 boom. Right? So that's all fine and nice. But guess what, everybody? Guess what, Gambia? That only is going to last for about maximum 2 years is what the relationship science tells us. Maximum. That is just not what is equal to sustainable long-term relationships. And what is equal to sustainable long-term relationships is a hell of a lot of patience, to be honest with you. It's learning how to communicate really well. It's learning these skills, and it's actually learning how to have disagreements.
Yes.
And how to negotiate disagreements. Now, the problem people get into is they think, like Valentine's Day, if I just find that right partner, if I just find that perfect soulmate, then somehow I've got it made. Now, I want you to imagine, for instance, that was your job. Let's say that your intent was to, let me find my ideal career. So you worked really hard, you found your ideal career, and then you just sat back and relaxed. Obviously, that wouldn't work.
True.
That's what people do with relationships a lot. They look for their ideal partner. There's a lot of people we could potentially be matched with. And then what they do is they're like, I've got love. And then they just relax. They start focusing on career. They start focusing on jobs. They start focusing on kids. All these different things. 10 years later, they're surprised that they're disconnected from their partner. So the truth is, it's a lot of work. It's good work, though. It's the kind of work we care about, the kind of work we feel good about. But it takes time and effort. Finding a partner, the kind of stuff we're interested in Valentine's Day, finding a partner is just a tiny, tiny first step.
Wow. But do you believe in Valentine's Day? I mean, it's
the whole celebration, because I mean there's a controversy behind the story of of where the celebration originated from. Regardless of whatever it is, do you believe and do you celebrate it?
Mariam has heard me say this before. I am way too romantic for Valentine's Day.
He put that on Facebook and everyone was going crazy. Like, what are you saying?
I am way too romantic. Now, here's what I mean. Any fool can buy you a cake.
True.
He said any fool can buy you a
No, but
cake.
it's true.
No disrespect to people who buy people cakes.
Yeah.
And frankly, it is a nice day to celebrate, to have a date, all this kind of stuff, as long as people understand that really the type of love that you're experiencing that's associated with Valentine's Day is it's a little bit immature type of love. It hasn't really developed very much. That's not what's going to keep you over the long term. You got to learn skills in that beginning, because once that love disappears, you're going to fall flat otherwise. I say I'm too romantic for Valentine's Day because I celebrate love every day. And it has its ups and downs, it has its struggle, but it has its joys.
Like I was saying the other day, like you can be in a relationship and then you are there just waiting for Valentine's Day to buy your partner a gift. But before all of that, you were not kind to your partner, you were not sweet to your partner, you were not loving and supportive to your partner, and you still think that person is gonna appreciate the little gift that you're gonna give them on Valentine's Day. Like, how will that even be valued on the day?
I can tell you something. If your partner isn't already happy with you, it's not going to mean anything.
That's right.
It's not going to mean anything. You know what? When people get into trouble, like we have this concept we call the relationship bank. And what it means is that it's the little things that you do every day. It's the noticing that your partner is very tired when they came home and just doing maybe a little bit extra you know, a chore on the side. Maybe making dinner for them when it's something you don't usually do, right? Just a little thing. Those things are what matters. Friendship in a relationship is what really matters. And if that's high, when you get into trouble, it's like you have something to draw on from the bank. You can draw down some of those savings because you've been investing in it every day, right?
True.
If it's low, when you get into trouble or when you have Valentine's Day, hey, if your partner is unsatisfied, it doesn't really mean that much.
Okay, I'm gonna ask this weird question because we live in a generation.
Weird. Okay, I can't wait.
Okay, so because
All right.
we live in a generation when we're together but we're not together. Especially for a lot of young people that I talk to, they're with, you know, like, yeah, I'm with her, but they're not too with her. So at the end of the day, they in what we call situationships. So they have so we have situationships, we have relationships, and at this point too, people have gone off the whole. They'll ask you out, they'll go on a date, but that's where it stops, because over there, if you like someone, then all of a sudden, telepathically, you're supposed to. The lady knows that the guy likes her, and the guy knows that the lady likes him. So equally, so now to them in their head, they're together. Probably they might have gone on maybe on a date, and then he ended up with a one night stand, and from there on, there's no word spoken. In their head, it's like, yeah, we're together. So now we call that situationship. Now, what's the difference to you? What's the difference between a relationship and this sort of situationship that we have?
I mean, sure, we've got a lot of that in the U.S. that we study as well. We call it booty call.
Yeah. There are tons of names for it.
Situationships.
Yes.
So here's the truth. There's a movement in the U.S. that we call relationship anarchy.
Okay.
Now, what that is about is not being too fixated on labels. Now, that's pretty radical in a conservative society like the Gambia to think about. But what I'm trying to say is that approaching other human beings on the notion of who is that human being without trying to accelerate quickly into the idea that you have to fit into this box.
Okay.
You have to be a friend. You have to be a date. You have to be a partner. But rather just focusing on who is this human being, and can I connect with them, and do I connect with them? And if so, let me see what time allows that to be. Now, you asked, is it a relationship? The thing that we've been finding is that a lot of people, again, get fixated on this idea. Well, we're just this, or we're not that. And
Okay.
you would hope it would.
Because people want to give, everyone wants a title, like her. It's
title, right?
Yeah. So we were supposed like, so what are we?
What
You know,
are we?
where's this going to?
Exactly.
You know, what are we getting out of this?
Exactly. And what I'm trying to say is that the more people can get away from that, and the more people can get focused on just the feelings they're experiencing for a person, that's going to benefit them. Now, what we have found more and more in relationship research over the last 40 years is that people think they're just, oh, we're just a booty call, or we're just this, or we're just that. The truth is, yeah, they're developing relationships. It's definitely a relationship. The boundaries between these different things that we call friendship, relationship, the boundaries are very tenuous. They're not clear cut. And they emotionally affect us. And when we try to fit ourselves in, we get ourselves in trouble. Now, you would hope that they would go to a second one night stand. You brought up the one night stand.
Yeah.
So the thing is, what people don't do is they don't talk.
Okay.
That's the issue. They don't talk. They just presume that if they talk, then they're getting way too serious, too fast.
Oh.
That's the thing, right? You don't want to talk about it. Now, imagine instead if you actually could sit down and be real with a person right from the beginning. It's a little scary, though. That's
True.
the thing. People talk.
And most people run away.
You go on a first date, you don't bring up kids, right?
No.
You're like,
What are you doing?
but what I'm actually trying to say is if you can figure out a way to actually talk about real stuff from the beginning as early as possible without it getting really awkward, then you're actually better off. Because every person has a different definition of what different things mean.
True,
Take cheating.
true,
Cheating is a classic thing of that.
And I had that question right.
Well,
I had that question. So
let me just cheat
Yes,
and go right to the cheat. So, because it fits perfectly.
Yeah.
Because people say all the time, well, how did we get ourselves in a situation where one person's cheating? Well, here's the thing. I meet this with couples all the time. Every single human being has a slightly different definition of what it means to cheat. That's the thing. One person is like, hey, you got a text message. Another person is like, you went dancing. Another person is like, I don't care what you do, just don't tell me about it. There's a huge variation, right? But nobody talks about it. You just assume when you get into a relationship that your definition is another person's definition, and then wham, something happens and you're shocked. So people don't talk. They have to talk about the things that are real unless they want to get in trouble.
Should you stay in a relationship where your partner doesn't just want to talk? Like, some people just avoid the conversation.
I feel some people are very introvert. That could be a word, but
no, these people are not even introverts. Like, they just don't want to talk about the situation around the relationship. They can talk about other stuff like, we can talk about whatever. But when it comes to the relationship part that they know, they're not probably been there, or they know that you have other questions that you want to ask about. Why is this happening? Like, why not picking up my calls? Why didn't you return my call? Like they avoid those kind of conversations. Must you stay in those relationships? Because I see a lot of young Gambians who are stuck up in relationships like that, and they are not happy, and they are hoping, I'm gonna change. Like, this person would change with time,
So the quick answer is no.
All right, I like that. Straight up, yo.
You want to know why? You want to know why?
Why?
Because it's a boundary violation. If you are in need of communication, and trust me, communication is what is going to lead to happiness and negotiation and boundaries. If you are in need of that and another person isn't, don't waste your time.
You heard it. I love that part.
That was smooth. Today we are talking about love. We're talking about relationship, and we are joined by Dr. Holmes right here, talking to us about things that we thought we knew. Even though we actually we knew, but just really did not really pay attention to it. And it's amazing getting to learn every day. And back into the issue of relationship, which we are deliberating basically about. I have a question. My question is, especially in I use Gambia basically as a terrain, the question is sex meant to be a core value in keeping a relationship?
No.
Now, why I'm saying that is the fact is a lot of young people in Gambia at this point are being misled with thinking that probably, being sex driven, if you don't give the guy, if he doesn't handle it properly, then your relationship is, he's worthless. Go get somebody with a 9-inch, that kind of stuff,
9-inch what?
9-inch
what?
Yeah, Penicilla. So, and because at the end of the day, you have all these, the young girls, they be talking to their friends, oh my God, this is what happened. And then they narrate the story, and then the lady is like, oh my, my friend said this is supposed to be the way it's meant to be now. And in most conversations, it always comes down to sex. And they feel like, oh yeah, if you give it to him good, that means your relationship is, he is with you. And even, to some degree, to some extent, they use voodoo. In Gambia they call it what, juju. They'll use what's the fuller word again? Nyami Joro. Yes, Nyami Joro. To keep the man. Now, what's your take on that?
Sex is beautiful. Sex is amazing. Sex is part of it's a human thing. It's great. Here's the thing. There's a lot of variation in human beings on their sex drive. You have everything from people that are very sexual to people that think of themselves as asexual, that basically don't have a lot of interest. No, relationships should not be based on sex. You can have a lot of different relationships, and by the way, it is every individual's responsibility to figure out what they're going to do with their own sexual needs. Baseline.
Okay.
Being in a couple does not give you access automatically to your partner. In fact, what we need is what we call a yes culture. And what a yes culture is based on enthusiastic consent. Now, I didn't just say consent. I said enthusiastic. Yeah, this is what I want.
Okay. So if they're like,
no, that's not consent. It's not consent. Think about it. Is it? Is it?
Yeah, no, of course not.
Gambia, I see a lot of like do this in society generally. What we need is to give agency to people. We need to give agency to people to have full control of their own bodies and their sexuality, a societal level and the individual level and the couple level. Here's the irony with all of this. There's a lot of situations out there where we think that somehow women become less interested with sex and relationship over time, and men are these sort of horny people who just have to keep finding a way, right?
Yeah.
I'm making Danny laugh.
It's okay.
Cough. Now, here's the thing. Nothing could be further from the truth. Men actually have a relatively simple sexuality and relatively easy to gain pleasure compared to the complexity of a woman's system. Here's the thing. It's usually women that come bored. Women become bored over time with exactly the same partner and exactly the same spaghetti every day. Do you understand?
Yes.
There
needs to be
they need something else.
Ingredients.
That's why we cook different dishes every day.
Exactly.
Okay.
So with time, what happens is a lot of women, because our societies tell us, oh, it must be women. It must be something about them. They're wrong. I don't know, whatever. No, actually, it's the opposite. That's what the research tells us. And the solution to that is to figure out, for women, what it is that is going to keep the women's interest and keep the ability for them to gain full pleasure.
Wow. Okay. Weird question. Highly highly relatable in Gambia. What's your take on long distance relationships?
Well, in science we call them LDRs, long distance relationships. Hey, they can work. It's not for me. I've tried. I mean, I just physically miss people too much.
I know.
But here's the issue. You have to define any relationship according to what it can actually give you. So if having a long distance relationship means that you chat on the phone a little bit every day, you can't expect that it's going to be the same as lying down in the evening beside your partner and hugging them all night long. You're not going to have the same thing.
Of course not.
So here's where people get in trouble. They get in trouble when they try to make a long distance relationship serve the same needs as a short distance relationship. Do you see what I'm saying?
True.
So as long as you can understand what those boundaries are and what it can actually give you, then it can work.
I see some people literally being punished on phone, literally, because there's a video call going on and your partner on the other side wants to monitor every little thing that you're doing. You're going to bed, you're still on video call until you fall asleep. Like, what is...
Yeah, I saw that. I mean, we were in camp once and this lady would not leave the phone. It's like, what is that? And to some extent, you need, especially in Gambia, most couple have a partner away, and you're supposed to ask for permission to go out, ask for permission to hang out, ask for permission to even, to do some certain things, to dress some certain way, because you have to take a picture, you need to send it over, seek consent and everything. while the person is on the other side. And what baffles me most of the time is the fact that that is not reciprocated, because
No.
when they are going out on the other side,
They don't
they
tell you
don't they don't
anything.
ask you for permission. They don't seek for your consent. They don't want to see what you. I mean, you don't actually. Even sometimes you don't even. You're not even allowed to ask them how they're dressed. So, what would you say about the power people give others over themselves, especially when it comes to relationships?
Here's what I'm going to say, Danny, and listen carefully, because this might save your entire life.
I like that.
Seriously. If you don't listen for the next 60 seconds, that might be it. Love is not about locking a person in a cage. Imagine you have a bird, right? You can clip the bird's wings. You can stick that beautiful bird that you found with all the beautiful feathers and the beautiful bird call. You can stick them in a cage. Sure, you can go and pretend that they love you because they're there every day when you come home. They're still there.
True.
They haven't flown away. Love is about opening the cage. Love is about helping your partner have the biggest, beautiful, fattest wings possible. Love is about enabling somebody to be the maximum person they can be. Setting them free. Setting them free as much as possible. And if they love you, if they continue to love you, if you have the guts to do it, you'll see that they keep flying back to you. They might not fly back to you every day, but they keep flying back to you, and when you're together, it's amazing. So love is not about locking people down. Love should be about enabling people. Any relationship should, on average, be better than what it would be like to be single. And if it's not, you should not be in it.
Love is free, they say. It is free. I have a text message. This one is saying, "Hi guys, I want to ask this question. Can you date your friend's ex?"
Yes.
What? Not in Gambia.
Yes, you
That's
can.
so sneaky.
Yes, people do. So here's the thing. Boundaries again.
Okay.
It's all about boundaries. It's about openness. It's about communication. In fact, that's a beautiful opportunity because you could talk to your ex about what went wrong. If that person's, I mean, it's like a resume. Come on. If you're honest, if everybody's honest, then somebody should be able, somebody should be able to own. Look, this is what went wrong. Right? Doesn't mean he's not or she's not a good person.
Okay.
It's just that we didn't work out. That's it. But I think you have to be honest. You have to be open and honest. Don't sneak around.
No. But because at the end of the day, you will be shocked to find out that this friend of yours the whole time was eyeing your girl. So now he was just waiting for that one opportunity where you're. Because I've had friends of mine who dated my ex. I was done with the person, but I felt some kind of way because the whole time. I mean, you and I were going through this situationship the whole time together. You know, like I was going to visit her, you were there. Yeah, I mean, she was coming over. She was coming over, you were there. I mean, we were hanging out, you were there. Now all of a sudden, like you were there.
I mean, stuff's fluid. Stuff's fluid. It doesn't work that. But one thing is for sure, you need to talk about it with the people involved. See, that's the thing I see in Gambia is people don't talk.
Yeah,
people don't
communication
talk.
is the problem.
You got to talk to your friend. You got to talk to the other people. How do they feel about it? Are there any hard feelings? Because if you're living in Gambia and you think you can hide something,
Of course not.
I don't know where you must not be from here.
It's a small country. We
It's
all
very-
know each
very-
other. There's something in Gambia that we have that is kind of like we have this racial love that we have for different races. Now we see a lot of black sisters or African Gambian black sisters and brothers married to white couple. And the same thing happening in Europe now. We see a lot of white people also getting married to the blacks. But then is there any difference? Like when we talk about relationships, is this...
It's that black love, you know, like they have that black love.
Are there, like,
White
some of these
love.
problems that we talk about, are there mutual
True
problems
love.
with the white race as well? Because some people here believe that
Like,
dating white people.
They're like, yo, white people can love you better than a black man can.
There's that notion.
Yeah.
You know, some people are just attracted to white skinned people. They believe they give better love, they give better care and protection and everything. And some people think, you know what, no, I prefer loving black people because I believe they will give me all the satisfaction and desires that I would really want. So do you think some of the problems that all these races or all these black people go through is the same with white people as well?
When I first came to Gambia, and Chris Tijan Smith and I back in 2014 started talking about this stuff on the radio, I was very reluctant, to be honest with you, to come as somebody who's half Swedish, half US, who has been studying relationships for 20 years. Come here and talk about, like, hey, who am I to come here and talk about, like, what young people, this is a different place, right? Now, the truth is, the more time I spend here, the more time I've spent here over years, honestly, the more I realize, no, we are the same when it comes to the fundamental things. We are the same when it comes to what gets us excited, where our heart beats, the love, all of it. Now, it's not an issue of race. All race is a few different genetic mutations because of our ancestors living in a hotter climate versus a colder climate. Melanin, that's all it is. Melanin, and in a hotter climate, you need less sun because you need less vitamin D. My ancestors from Sweden need light skin so you can get a lot of vitamin D. Why would that form a difference in relationships, people? That doesn't make any sense. Now, I'll tell you what the difference is and what people are latching onto. There are cultural differences.
Yes.
Patriarchy is a big one.
Okay.
Patriarchy is a big one. I mean, it exists everywhere, but there are cultural differences. There are ways that things are done in Gambia, which is beautiful. A lot of it's really beautiful, and we honor the ancestors, right? But some of it also kind of fights against what some of the young people want, right? In terms of their mentality. So what happens sometimes is maybe they look at white people from Europe or other places and they see, but it's not their white race. It's about cultural differences in terms of how they look at how men and women should be treated, who should have opportunities, equality, all these kind of things. For better or for worse, but it's not race.
Does for better or for worse actually even work in our generation? Would you say for better or for worse actually still exist?
Well, the thing is, what I think you have to figure out is how to live in a highly communal society like the Gambia, which I, by the way, find is beautiful.
Okay.
We are lacking in a lot of individualistic societies like the United States where I live. We're lacking connectivity between family. People are very depressed and sad and unhappy, and they might have material wealth, but they don't have this communal feeling. How do you maintain the best part of that and yet remove some of the pressures that are there that are not necessarily always healthy for the individual, which is somebody else is going to choose for you who to marry. And, you know, somebody else is going to tell you what to do. Don't do that. Don't do this. Be like that. Which, you know, what's the success of that? Are people happy? So how do you so when I say better for better for worse, it's about how to maintain the roots of culture, how to respect what the ancestors have done and said, how to maintain the best of it, and yet how to change in a way that respects that and maintains individual happiness.
I'm going to ask this question. This is basically for people for married couples, and it's quite rampant here that you see a woman has issues or a couple has issue, and then they go to their family. For example, they go to an aunt that they look up to, or they go to like an elder sister for advice, and that rather talking, than actually looking for answers in their partner, probably trying to understand, or having the couple sit down and talk things over. They rather go talk to their mom, that eventually is going to be a third party in the relationship now, or probably the fourth party when there's already like a best friend that has another best friend, that like everyone is basically
but because
seeking for advice or for comfort somewhere else than in the relationship?
Okay, that's because the culture made it look like older people are smarter and wiser, and they can guide you properly because they've been married for centuries with their partners, and they can guide you.
See, when they were not married for centuries.
You know,
Over 100 years?
Yeah, our grandparents used to get married. Like they've been married for 100 years or so.
What?
You don't know.
How long did they live for? 100 years, or they were married for 100
What I'm trying
years?
to put across is like because they've been married for so long.
Yes,
like, you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
So they think they can give you the right guidance and advice. What's your take on that?
Well, I think there is something useful to actually going to see if you can find elders in your community that have been married for at least 125 years.
Over a century.
Here's the thing.
Over a
Here's the
century.
thing. Maybe the goal. Here's maybe where you differ from your elders. Maybe your elders were saying, just put up with it. It's connectivity. It's family. You don't need happiness. And maybe you as a youth are like, no, I want to be happy, actually. Happiness is kind of a thing for me. Thank you very much.
Yes.
But here's the thing. Talk to them about the struggles. Talk to the elders about what they had to go through. If they can actually open up to you for real and be honest, it might make you think twice about what you're doing. Here's the issue. I'll give you an interesting little fact. When people first get together, if you ask them a year later, how well do you know your partner? Can you guess what it is they would think on this political issue? Can you guess how they would act in this hypothetical situation? What would they want? What kind of a romantic day would they think? Most people, after about a year into a marriage, will be very accurate. They know their partner really well. But actually, they're very insecure about that accuracy. They're like, no, I'm not really sure if that's what they want. 10 years later, what the research shows is that suddenly the person's very, very sure. Oh, no, I know my partner. I've been with them 10 years. This is what they want. This is what they think. This is what political party they'll vote for next time. This is what they want on their birthday, blah, 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 blah. And guess what? Their accuracy has plummeted. Any y'all good folk want to take a guess why?
No, why? Why?
They're bored.
Because people stop talking. In the beginning, you interrogate each other. You're constantly asking open-ended questions because you're trying to learn who they are and you're excited about it. It's what gets you to feel like you're growing inside. With time, you think you know your partner. You stop talking to them, and guess what? What you forget is that person A is not going to be the same person 10 years later. Person B is not going to be the same person 10 years later. And the relationship is not going to be the same relationship 10 years later. It's going to constantly evolve. And the trick to a happy relationship is to constantly communicate and constantly figure out if you can evolve together. So my advice to people would be, marriage is just the start. Relationship is just the start. You really should be sitting down every 6 months, every year, and pretending you don't know your partner at all. Just saying, who are you? Who are you? Do I know you? Thank you very much.
I like that.
I'm serious. So you should be asking, like, hey, right now, I know what you said a year ago, but it's been a year. What's actually really important to you right now? What are your goals and aspirations right now? What makes you really happy right now? What do you want in the next 5 years for yourself? And it's going to constantly change. The sad thing, guys, is that for most couples, every year they stay together, they get a little bit less happy. Over time. Every year you're together, you become less happy over time. That's what the science consistently shows that. Here's the beautiful thing. There's a hack. The beautiful thing is all you got to do to stop that is ask questions, communicate, learn to consistently expect that you're going to change, your partner's going to change, your relationship's going to change, and don't BS each other. If you fall out of love, get a divorce.
See, well, this is time for us to say bye-bye.
Yes, that was a heavy conclusion. But it is very important. Like, people really are stuck up in relationships. They're not happy. They're trying to please their families. They're trying to please their neighbors. They're trying to please their friends, especially the haters who were saying you are not gonna make it together.
Everyone is gonna yes.
So
the haters. We're doing the haters a favor.
You're putting up with so much just to please the people around you instead of really.
You can't do that though.
Either fixing it or working out of it. And people are really scared to work out of relationships. Which I don't get. If you're not happy, if you're not getting those moments that you really wanted in a relationship, don't be scared to work out of it and
Please.
Open a new page. It doesn't matter how old you are. You know, it's never too late to find love again. But thank you so much, Dr. Ben. It was great having you here.
Welcome.
And finally, before you leave, I know you want to start like having love talks, you know, to invite people to gatherings where they can open up about these issues, which is very important. And we are looking forward to it very soon. And probably we'll get to have you more on the Chill Zone before that starts. So people can get more familiar with what you do and your expertise as well.
Is this what we call chilling?
I
don't want to even know when we're not chilling.
We are definitely chilling.
So we're actually we're chilling. We're chilling. We're actually chilling.
But thank you so much for coming.
Oh yeah, I love you guys. All right.
We love you too, Dr. Ben.
We love you too, Doctor. You are amazing. Trust me, my entire office is tuned in at this point. And everyone is quite impressed. Everyone is impressed. To you that's going to be watching this, tell a friend to tell a friend. This is how we do the Chill Zone now. It only happens here. I want to say thank you so much to your number one GSM operator for taking the time of creating this platform for us to have fun with you. We'll be back next week, Monday, on the Chill Zone again. But if you were meant to recommend someone to be on the show, who would that be?
Wow, recommend someone to be on that show. Have you
on
had
this show, on the Chill Zone?
Have you had Mam Yasin Sar from Starfish International?
No.
No, I had them
should.
on the Let's Talk show, a group of them. But yeah, I think
Okay.
that's a good recommendation.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll look into that.
Thanks to everyone who sent in their text messages and tried to call on the show today. Thank you so much. I'll be back on Friday on the Let's Talk show from 2:30 to 4 p.m. Don't miss it this Friday because I have such an inspirational writer who is. You should just hear this person's story.
Definitely
so join me on
that.
Friday from 2:30 to 4.
Thank you, Gambia. Have a nice day.
Afri Radio. You're the only one